So this wasn't even going to be today's video, but so many of you guys hit me up about this story, I just went ahead and decided to talk about it. So thank you for all the messages on various forms of social media. Initially, I was working on another video that's kind of a weird rabbit hole about a game that was showcased at the Game Awards. Maybe I'll put that up on the second channel later on today, but obviously, we've been talking a lot about Switch 2 accessories, and, it kind of started from China, and there was questions about the legitimacy of these things, screen protectors, the tempered glass for the screen and stuff like that. But then, of course, we had Satisfy with a new grip for the Switch 2 that you can literally pre-order right now on their website. What's interesting about that story is, though, if you go back and watch that video, we actually showed a little video clip of what looked to be like a Switch 2 in this grip that they are releasing, and that video has actually been removed. So it almost kind of gives it a little bit of credence to what they were showing, but there are still some doubts. Well, now we have another company that you probably heard of that is showing 3D renders, but they go way beyond that, and they give some actual specifications of the size of the Nintendo Switch 2, and they say they're real. So we're on the case about the Nintendo Switch 2 case. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is over on Dbrand's website. Now, Dbrand themselves, they've been kind of at the center of different controversies before when it comes to various cases and things like that. But Dbrand put up the Kill Switch 2, which is a new, I guess, carrying case for the Nintendo Switch 2. And you can see here that there is a video render of this system, and there are some differences that you could see with the naked eye, such as additional buttons and stuff like that. But obviously with the Joy-Con colors and whatnot, there's not a whole lot to take away with this. The red and blue, same as the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons that we have now. The case itself looks interesting enough. It does look kind of big and bulky, but for all we know, this could just be based on the Nintendo Switch specifications and what the size of the Switch is, or the Switch OLED, and then taking an educated guess about what Nintendo is going to do with this. So when I initially saw this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's Dbrand. Like I said, they've done some weird stuff before. Maybe this is a bunch of nothing, but there's actually been follow-up, and quite a bit of follow-up with this as well, as far as where this sort of information came from, how it was attained, and if it's actually real or not. Now, this write-up is being done by The Verge. They blocked me on Twitter, so I'm not going to share the link. And half the time I forget to share the link anyways. I mean, if you want to read it, you can go read it. You know where the website is. Dbrand CEO tells us the company has actual dimensions of the Switch successor. Actual dimensions, giving us a glimpse as to the size of this system based on actual dimensions. So there's some talk here, basically Switch, before April 2025. We were inspired to write this article in the first place because of Dbrand's just announced Kill Switch 2 case. The website for the product features an in-motion render of the case, and inside, a mock-up of hardware that has some key differences from the Switch and the Switch OLED. The new console appears to be larger. It has a mysterious second button on the right Joy-Con under the home button. Accessory leaks over the past few days have shown similar potential design for the hardware. So, once again, beyond just the button under the home button, there's that weird button that's on the Joy-Con, on the back of the Joy-Con. Of course, we talked about magnetic rails with another Switch design for the slip cover that we saw. Talked about it on Thursday on the channel. If you missed that video, there was a bunch of videos I uploaded that day, but go back and watch that one to sort of get a glimpse of this. But a lot of these visions are in line with each other. Is that circumstantial? Is that based on guessing? Who really knows? But according to Dbrand, it's not. It seems Dbrand is reasonably confident in its case, but we asked CEO Adam Ijaz, I guess that's how you say it, Ijaz? I'm going to say Ijaz, to be sure. He says Dbrand has actual dimensions, not an educated guess, based on a 3D scan of the real hardware. When we asked how he knows that, Ijaz only said, nice try, Nintendo. So he is saying that these are actual dimensions. And if he had just left it at that, okay, whatever. Like, oh, yeah, we have the actual dimensions. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, anyone could say something like that. So, upon first inspection, probably not the biggest deal in the world. Until you continue to read and you see that he actually gives the dimensions. So, this is a GIF of the spinning case, the Switch 2 in the case itself. Based on Dbrand's measurements, the next Switch, which we'll call the Switch 2, will be both larger and taller than an OLED, but roughly the same thickness. Nintendo's spec sheet shows its previous handheld is 242 millimeters wide, 102 millimeters tall, and 13.9 millimeters thick. Whereas iJazz says the Switch 2 should measure 270 millimeters wide, 116 millimeters tall, and 14 millimeters thick, with the console portion taking up 20 millimeters worth of that width. So that's pretty interesting stuff there. Those are our actual first specifications. You can see here, it goes from 242 millimeters wide. The OLED, of course, is the biggest model, to 270 millimeters wide. It goes from 102 millimeters tall to 116 millimeters tall, while retaining the same sort of thickness. So this design, based on these specs that are allegedly real, it's going to be a bit of a beefier system, but still retaining the form factor that we see on the Switch now. It's not going to be bulky like something like a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck is. Those systems are great. I love them to death, but they are a bit bulkier when you are trying to hold them in your hands. iJazz also says the kickstand will measure around half the console's height at about 55 millimeters. A diagonal measurement of the cover glass supports previous rumors that'll have an 8-inch screen. iJazz says it's his understanding that Joy-Cons are magnetically attached with an ejection button that's on the back of the Joy-Cons near the top, and his new case takes advantage of the detachable controllers. He says controller portions of Dbrand's case can detach with them inside. So maybe that's what that button is. Hold on a second here. I haven't actually read this article previously. I just kind of hopped straight into it because I feel like you get a more interesting conversation out of it. But that makes sense, dude. That button, that weird protruding button that we've seen, that we talked about on that other Switch case, and I couldn't figure out like what it actually was. That's an eject button for your Joy-Cons off the system since it's magnetic. And like, bro, I get this is all circumstantial. I get that. I completely understand why you would think this is all circumstantial. But all these companies are not working together. All these companies are not working together to give us an idea of this system because they're all, in on it. Like, no, like some things can be coincidental, but if a coincidence keeps popping up all the time, I tend to believe that there's something more to it. He doesn't know what the second square button is under the home button, which he says has a C printed on it. The left Joy-Con in Dbrand's mockup still has a button on the left Joy-Con, which is where you'll find the capture button on the original Switch. So it's unclear if the C button now means capture or if both buttons work differently. That's kind of interesting. C buttons, of course, for the N64 they go on to talk about. iJazz says the joysticks are around 6.27 millimeters tall, and the D-pad and the ABXY buttons protrude about 1.57 millimeters with a 180 millimeter wide kickstand and back triggers that extend 9.1 millimeters. Now, in a previous, design that we saw that wide-ass kickstand that we saw like with the OLED here. While Dbrand does seem to know a lot about the console, iJazz is genuinely unsure about its potential release date. He says that Dbrand is working towards a late March or early April release for its case, though. iJazz doesn't know about Nintendo's possible TV dock for the Switch 2, but Dbrand's assumption is that the form factor will be similar to the previous gen. He doesn't know if it is an OLED screen or an LCD screen. Now, then, of course, we have, it's highly unusual for an accessory maker to publicly reveal this much, considering it's Nintendo. Having beef with the console makers is an intentional and often fun part of its marketing strategy, and Nintendo is a frequent target, like that Zelda skin that was a middle finger to Nintendo's lawyers, or the not Animal Crossing one. But of course, they go on to say that, this does line up with other things that people have seen. And, Switch Up actually did a video based on the case to sort of like do like a 3D printing on it. That's a video worth checking out if you're not. But like, this is too specific for me. It's too specific. If you would have just said it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit wider, but like we're going down to millimeters here, folks. I believe these to be actual specifications, and I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, so be it. But I'm choosing to believe this because this is a sort of rebellious company that does what they want to do. Sometimes, you know, they trip over their own shoes and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. If you're given accurate, accurate information down to the millimeter of the size difference, and you're making a product based on that, it seems like this cat is getting out of the bag a lot quicker than I think people anticipated that it was going to be. So I'll leave it up to you guys to decide, though. Gun to my head, I would believe them. That's just me, though. That's just me. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Check out all the other videos from this past week. There's been a lot of them. Game award stuff, retro gaming stuff. I've just been all over the place. I got a lot of things to say, so I'm going to say it. And as always, catch you guys on the next video. Later.